Good evening, folks. Thanks very much for coming in. We apologise that we're a wee bit on the late side, but this screen behind us kind of collapsed, so I had to sort of do my Bob the Builder and try and reassemble it as quickly as possible. So that's how we're running a little bit late. But we're here, that's the main thing, and I hope everybody's safe and well. And tonight, these two young ladies are going to be talking about female ghosts. Not sexist in any way, just we thought we'd do a night, just concentrate on the ladies' ghosts and let the ladies do it. I know I'm not a lady, but, you know, I'm here anyway because I'm a bit of a nosy bugger and I couldn't find it on the TV anyway, so I thought I might as well come in and sit on the barrel. So, you know, I'll hand you over to these two young ladies. I don't know who's going to talk first, but
me.
I won't be talking much, thankfully. Anyway, it's up to these two.
So the plan is I'm going to be reading some short stories, which I have written down because there's so many to remember. And then we're going to have a short discussion about the story. So,
Hi, Frankie.
The first one is about Crave's Castle. And it's about a green lady who is seen. So a woman wearing a green dress is often seen by a fireplace with an infant in her hands. The story is that during the 1800s, the castle was renovated and the bones of a baby, presumably murdered, were found under the fireplace in a wee box. So the woman is seen, don't know if it's the mother of the baby or who she is, but she's seen carrying the infant in her arms standing next to the fireplace. And to this day, the identity of the woman and the baby still remains a mystery. We don't know what happened, don't know nothing. All we know is that she's seen occasionally standing at the fireplace holding the baby.
I must say, it's quite unusual that they've seen a woman in a green dress because it's usually the grey lady or the lady in white, you know what I mean? So that's quite interesting that it's a green dress. Where did you say that was, Sarah?
Crave's Castle.
Is that in Scotland?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody put a comment on a lady put a comment today on Facebook saying that you never hear of green ghosts in England. For some reason, no. It's always Scottish, you know, that has green ghosts, which is kind of bizarre. And we don't actually really have it. I mean, we could dig into it and see if we can find anything on it, but, you know, that's what the lady was saying today. But Mario's in, Joe's in, Kat's in, Robin's in, and Wayne's in, and Frankie, of course, as well. Welcome, everybody. Just in case you missed the wee intro, it's the ladies that are doing it tonight. I'm not meant to be talking. You know, I can't let a live go by without getting a word or 17 in. You know, Sam's here as well. Evening, Sam.
But no, it's quite... Same with the details of the story are very vague. But it's the fact that everybody remembers that she's wearing a green dress and holding a baby.
It'd be interesting to see the statistics of ghosts in Scotland that are female and green to the white and grey female ghosts, because I've never heard of a green ghost before. So that's just really interested me, that has. Place to go for with a ghost box and a bunch of ghost equipment, isn't it? Unless they're moulding.
Frankie says you never hear a green ghost unless they're mouldy.
But it's true.
Valid.
Never heard of a green ghost as well.
A lot of the stories tonight, they're all kind of ladies in white or ladies in grey. I think I've got a story about a nun as well.
Hi Robin, thanks very much for sharing that out. There's Joe saying green represents ghosts / spirits close to nature. You might know something about that, Forrest, because you're kind of, I was going to say you're a naturist, but you're you know what I mean?
I'm going to be a mouldy ghost, that's me.
Can you spell the name of the castle, please?
I will pop it in the chat right now. I think that's how you spell it.
Yeah, I'll be a mouldy green ghost. I'll have moss for hair, maybe green teeth as well.
I don't know actually what colour the actual ghost is. It's just her dress that's green. I don't know what colour she is. The story is very vague. Anyway, let's move on to the second one. The next one is about a grey lady this time. in Falkland Palace. So in the gallery of the castle, a grey lady is seen pacing up and down, anxiously awaiting the return of her lover. Her lover was a soldier who went off to battle and never returned. It's quite sad, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Just waiting there all day for this soldier to come back.
You get white ladies and grey ladies. I might have this back to front, so if I do have, don't shoot me. But it's meant to be that the white ladies are associated, their deaths associated with kind of romance, natural causes, etc. Grey ladies, their death was violent, like murder, execution, stuff like that.
Right.
That's why, seemingly, I'm not saying this is fact. This is what I looked into it, and this is what I was reading, and that's why you get the two different colours. Also, a green ghost as well. Forests. Sorry, Joe. As Joe says, can represent nature.
Well, that's all well and good saying that, Scott, but this lady in my story, she didn't die. She died of a broken
She
heart.
obviously died sometime. Aye. She's a ghost.
She died of a broken heart, I'm assuming, because she was anxiously awaiting her lover.
Right. So she's white?
No, she's grey.
She's grey.
The grey lady of Falkland.
He bored her to death. That's what he did. He bored her to death because she waited so bloody long for him to get back. And
right.
That's why she's taken, because she was kind of murdered by him. That's my point.
There's, could represent the green woman like the green man. Possibly. Hi, Shelley Doll. Thanks for coming in. What's the reason for female ghosts showing themselves as old hags? That's a good question, Kat. And you know what? I'll write it in my pad and I'll get the answer for you.
Go and get your pad.
I can tell you about the spirit of a hag at the ancient Ramin that I went to in October. It was the first outing for the year because we were allowed out before lockdown. And me and a friend booked to go to the ancient Ram. Now, just as we were coming back from the pub, we'd had a drink and we thought we'll go in there now. We were talking about the spirit of the old hag, and I can't remember what her name was, but my friend was really interested in making contact with this toothless witch. And just as we were about to go in there, my front tooth crown fell out. And I was just like, oh my God. And it only falls out once every 10 years. But my front tooth fell out anyway, just as we were going in to see the toothless old hag. So I reckon she's got a sense of humour.
Myself and my daughter in the couch at the Tower of London. Didn't see her much, but she was pulling me towards the tower, stairs to the tower that she was imprisoned in.
Oh.
You get that with the Tower of London, where there was that many people in prison there, especially, and women as well, that they do tend to hang about. Anne Boleyn as well, she's a famous ghost in the Tower of London. The old hag is a chair at an ancient site in Ireland.
It's usually the people who are prettiest all the way they want to be remembered.
Blimey.
Why would you want to be remembered as old and haggard looking though?
No, that's the prettiest I've ever been.
You never know.
Unlucky.
So the next story is again about a white lady. So we're going through all the colours. We've had green, grey and white so far. At St Andrew's Cathedral. So for the past 200 years or so, people have reported seeing a beautiful lady wearing white gloves. She glides through the ground before disappearing. It is said that the stonemasons were repairing the tower and they accidentally broke into a sealed chamber, and within the chamber were a number of coffins, and one of which was opened, and inside was a preserved skeleton of a lady, and she had white gloves on. So that's why the woman is...
Where was that? Where was that, Sarah?
St Andrew's Cathedral.
So it's like a crypt under the cathedral, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And she was preserved.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's the same as George Mackenzie when his tomb was broken into. Even though he's been dead for 300-400 years. Was it 200-300 years? They found that his body, his head, still had strands of hair. The skin was, he still had skin. There was still skin in the scale. It was kind of leathery, drawn looking. It was Jamie Christopher was telling us. But it was surprisingly preserved for the age of the body, basically. I was going to get back to what Joe said about the pretty sweet or the way they want to. I mean, you could tie that in, but they always say after when you pass over, you get the choice to go back to a time in life when you were, more happier, younger, whatever. And some spirits do choose maybe 20, 30, to look like 20, 30 years old, kind of thing. So that would tie in with what Joe's saying, the way they want to be remembered.
But yeah, so the coffin of this lady was lying wide open. The rest of them were obviously shut and stuff. But this one was open and she was lying there, preserved, and she was wearing white gloves, so that's where she got the name. Because that's what people report seeing, is this female gliding down the ruins of the cathedral, and she's got bright white gloves on, which is quite strange.
It's amazing if they were still white after all that time as well.
I know. Because white's a hard colour to keep clean. Ghosts or spirits are said to be seen to walk through walls, but that's because when they were with us, the material world, that wall wasn't there, so they believe they're walking down a passage or through a doorway.
That's spot on. I've heard that many, many times. I do like Frankie's comment. I would like to come back young with her. So would I, Frankie. When I come back next time, I'd like to have a wee bit of coverage. But
is that not like soldiers are often seen without any feet? And it's because obviously when they were soldiers, the land was totally different. So they have feet, but obviously as times went on, our lands get built up or whatever, so that's why they don't have any legs. It's
like Chester. There's been reports of Roman soldiers been seen marching in Chester, but they're kind of like to the knees up, sort of thing. And that's similar because when they were alive, the road obviously was a lot lower than it is now. So what Joe's saying, I've heard that many a time that they appear to walk through walls, but that wall was maybe a passageway or a door that they used to use. So to them, it's still the door or the passageway is still there.
It's like my question as well in one of the other lives where I said, why don't ghosts fall through ceilings when you've got ghosts that are upstairs? And it's because of the land, isn't it? The land's different when it was when they died. So
it's quite strange, isn't it, to think about how time, it doesn't move on in the spirit world. Like if they died in 1960, for instance, what they're walking about and they kind of see stuff as 1960.
Yeah.
Sorry, Forrest.
There's an old pub in the place where I was born in Bilston. There's a pub called the Greyhound, and that's sort of 400, 500, maybe even 600 years old. And it's quite interesting to see that where the road is now, it's about 8 foot down, so you have to go down the steps to go into it. It's just amazing to know that that's how much land we've got in that amount of time. So all those ghosts, you probably only just see the head. If they were to walk over the road, it'd just be the tops of the head.
Can you imagine that driving down the road and you just see this wee head kind of bobbling along?
It's like Scott's head bobbling along. It's like, is that a football?
That's too much. Picking me, why don't you? But a lot of these residual hauntings are exactly as what Joe said, what have you, this about Chester with the Roman soldiers. It's not just Chester, it happens, there's been sightings all over the UK and what have you. I would put that down to more a residual haunting, like the old videotape theory playing over and over again. They're caught in that kind of, and that's why they appear to you through the wall, the door, walk down the road with no legs and stuff like that, because it's as a residual haunting. I'm not saying that's definitely the cause. This is just my opinion.
So the next haunting is of a female, obviously, but this is of a famous female, and the female in question is Anne Boleyn, your favourite. So after Henry VIII divorced his first wife, he married Anne, and she became Queen of England in 1533. However, her reign was short-lived as she failed to produce a male heir, and she was arrested for, what was she arrested for? Treason and...
She was originally arrested for adultery, and she was actually charged with witchcraft as well, and then treason was added on because basically, I'm not going to use a Tudor lesson, but basically the Privy Council were out to get her because she's so much influence over Henry, so charges were trumped up and Henry was made to believe it. She was also charged with adultery with her own brother, John Smeaton, the musician. There was Thomas...
Culpeper.
No, that was Catherine Howard.
So it was.
About 6 or 7 different men, but it was all obviously lies. So she was charged first with adultery, which was considered treason, and then they added witchcraft onto the plate as well.
So she was beheaded at the Tower of London on May 19th, 1536. And her ghost is often seen at the location of her death, but also at Hever Castle, Blinking Hall, Sale Church and Marwell Hall, just to name a few places, because she gets about. But
did she live in all those places then?
She was brought up in her childhood years were spent at Hever Castle, and then, once her father, once her sister got involved with Henry, her father got involved, and then he introduced her to the court, and then she, her and Henry started to not get it on, but because Anne was quite strong in her beliefs. Anne was one of the only women that ever says to Henry, I'm not going to let you bed me, basically, until you wed me. So this is why Henry was so desperate to get his divorce for Catherine, because it was the only way he would get Anne. So she did spend a lot of time in Hever Castle. Even after she lost, she miscarried, she went back to Hever Castle. Also, she was executed at the Tower. She spent time at Hampton Court Palace. So she did spend some amount of time at each of these locations.
Okay, so she's kind of got a split video replay, hasn't she? She might have been all over the place. Sections of her life in different places.
She did get, because she was executed in the Tower and buried. She's buried in the chapel inside the grounds of the Tower, so it's not as if her body was took elsewhere. She was buried that afternoon.
So why do you think that she haunts all these places then? Because typically a ghost is seen at like 1, maybe 2 locations, but she's seen it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If not more.
She's seen at Salisbury Hall as well, so there's at least about 7 locations. Hi Steve, buddy, hope you're well. Thanks for coming in. She's seen roughly about 7 locations, and it's always puzzled me why she's seen it so many places. People say that spirits where they're executed, they can be seen there where they're buried, because I just say she's executed and buried in the same place. Where they spent a half-page times was Hever Castle, so why is she seen so many times? Is she actually seen, or is it just people imagining that they've actually seen her? Because she does kind of, pardon the pun, get about.
Mm-hmm. Or maybe it's just the fact that people have seen this kind of female figure at all these places, and then because there is an association to that place to her, they think if we say it's her, we'll get more tourists and stuff in.
It could well be, couldn't it? You just don't know.
They sell the ghost.
Aye, basically sell the story.
She may have good memories. That's true, Frankie. She could have good memories of all these individual places, and that's why she does the rounds. She visits them all.
So the next story has 2 endings. They're not quite sure what happened, but there's 2 endings anyway. And it's about a Headless Nun. So, in Canada's French folklore, a figure of a headless nun is said to wander about looking for her head. The nun met a tragic end when either a deranged fur trapper or a pair of sailors cut off the nun's head with a blade.
She spends her time looking for it. I mean, good luck with that, because your eyes are in your head.
I know, see when I read that story, I thought, how's she meant to find her head without her eyes, which are in her head? But yes,
there's no... You just can't do it, can you?
If you've got
It's
your head
impossible.
off, right, you don't have any eyes, right?
You don't have a head?
You don't have a head.
No.
Your eyes are in your head, right? So if you don't
Right,
have a
for
head,
most people,
if you don't have a head, how are you meant to look out
because
your
you're a
eyes
spirit.
to see your head?
Because you don't have a body anymore.
But that's what I'm saying. The story is that a headless nun is seen wandering about. So she's obviously
Looking for her head.
she's looking for her head. But how can she look for her head without her head? Now, there's a question.
Maybe.
I know what people chat think, but I'm out of this one. I'll leave this between you two ladies.
Maybe she's a good footballer and she just wanders around the stone floor, just like gently kicking under a habit, just like, and if she kicks something, she realises that's a head. Who knows? But you're not going to find your head with no bleeding eyes. Impossible task. She'll be there forever.
She will. She'll be there for eternity, just searching about.
But then if you're dead, you don't need a head.
But clearly,
That rhymes. You're dead, you don't need a head. Sorry. I don't mean to be saying anything. Stop dragging me into the debates.
Well, clearly this wee woman wants her head. Anyway, that's the headless nun.
Well, I think everybody would want their head back, wouldn't you?
Okay. The next one is quite a famous story. It's of the Brown Lady of Reinham Hall.
She got a head.
Yes. Now, this is meant to be the spirit of a Dorothy Walpole. She is often seen wearing a brown brocade dress.
A brown what?
Brocade dress. I think it's like an
I don't have any clue what that is.
Dress.
So it's just a brown dress.
Yeah, basically. She was the wife of Whig statesman Viscount Charles Townshend. Her body is just a vessel, so why would she be searching for it?
She was searching for her head.
She could be trapped because she doesn't have a head, so to get to move on, she needs to find her head. So she's complete, so that her spirit can pass on. I don't know.
You might have something there. She might feel that she can't pass on until
she finds her head.
She finds her head. I know it sounds ludicrous, but obviously when we pass over, we're still the same person, personality, thoughts, everything. The only thing is we don't have a physical body. She didn't have a head. So, in her mind,
but she's not got.
You're still your consciousness.
Not got a head.
In her consciousness, you're getting me mixed up. In her consciousness, she might feel herself. It's the same idea as a spirit might not pass over, might not go to the light if they feel they've done wrong, or they won't fit in on the other side, kind of thing, for whatever reason. So maybe this poor soul feels, I don't know. You don't even think about laughing. That because she's not a head, she's not complete. You don't know. I mean,
I don't know. Anyway,
a zillion reasons why.
The ultimate desecration as well, isn't it? Taking the head, because isn't that seen as the ultimate spite to take somebody's head so that they're never at rest and they can never cross over? Read that somewhere, so it might be just one of those. It's the ultimate insult, so that's going to obviously upset the nun for as long as she's a ghost.
Unfinished business.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the lady of Reinham Hall. So.
I can't stop this girl, you're getting buried. I know, Frank, I give up. I'll throw the pen away, that's me. I give up.
So, this lady is meant to be the spirit of Dorothy Walpole. She was the wife of Whig statesman Viscount Charles Townshend. I wish people would stop having big long names. And They lived in the very posh Reinham Hall. Her life is full of misery, apparently so. And once her husband discovered that she was unable to have children, he locked her up in a room and she died of smallpox in 1726.
Well, she married well.
So a spirit is seen standing at the bottom of the stairs. Just wandering, looking about.
Yeah, you
So
know.
she was an empty vessel then, she was. Can't give you kids, so you're going to get mistreated by your husband.
Yep.
So, I mean, maybe she's still here. Get back to Josie's unfinished business. Maybe I might get buried here again, Frankie. So if I do, I apologise, my friend. But maybe she felt that in the physical life she was good enough, and maybe she feels that she's not good enough to go to the light.
Maybe.
Because her own physical life was that traumatic, traumatic and what have you. Maybe she thinks, she won't be accepted on the other side. Who knows?
Possibly. So the next one is about Brodie Castle in Arran. And this is occasionally the ghost of Lady Margaret, wife of the 21st of Brodie, it's quite confusing, visits a bedroom, which was, when she was alive, was her bedroom, where she died in her bed in a fire in 1786.
What a way to go.
So obviously the castle has been refurbished and stuff since then, but occasionally she's seen in the bedroom where she died in a fire. It's quite tragic.
I wonder if she's seen lying down on the bed or whether she's seen walking around, or be interesting to see what the sightings of her was.
I'm just going to get back again to the childbearing bit of that last story. Unfortunately, that was the case many years ago. Childbearing was seen. It was Joe, especially. I mean, I'll go back to like Anne Boleyn. Henry VIII's time. The basic role of a woman was to provide an heir. That was it.
Mm-hmm.
And Henry had a couple of daughters, and he was sorely disappointed because he turned out with daughters. But that was the main role. They had to provide an heir. And obviously, just in Tudor times, it was everywhere. It was a big, big thing. You needed a son.
Well, talking about Henry VIII there, Scott, that brings us on to our next haunting. This is the haunting, the spectre of Silver Stick Stairs. A sad white woman spirit is seen walking up the Silver Stick Stairs in Hampton Court Palace. The spirit is of Henry VIII's third wife, Jane Seymour, who died of complications during childbirth to their son, Edward. Now, this is where the story gets really sad. Unfortunately, Edward died, and on the anniversary of Edward's death, this is when she's seen to walk up the Silver Stick Stairs, which leads to the room of which she gave birth in.
That's right. Edward died when he was 15.
That's really interesting. That is it only that one day that she's seen on?
Yeah.
Yeah, you get other days that constantly do it every night, and sing quite frequently. It's interesting that one's just that one day a year.
I've read that quite a few times about Jane Seymour looking for Edward. So the brown lady's spirit was seen by a fellow who tried to shoot her, apparently.
All right. Talking about shooting, back to the Anne Boleyn one.
I didn't try to shoot a ghost.
Well, look at the Anne Boleyn story.
I think you'd miss.
I missed that. I missed the wee bit out at the end because we were talking.
Sorry.
But the most chilling tale regarding Anne's ghost is that a guard was at the tower and he was approached by a whitish female figure, and he was so freaked out that he tried to stab the figure with his bayonet.
Bet he missed.
But he missed, and he was that scared that he ended up fainting from fear. I missed that wee bit.
I would as well. Though if something just suddenly appeared in front of you, you're not going to sort of be at ease, are you, at all? It's like, oh.
Issue of living that significant day to bring. Possibly, Joe. Hi, Jack. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for coming in. Possibly, Joe, because it is just that one day every year that she's seen climbing the steps. So maybe it's her way of trying maybe to find them.
Yeah.
To bring him back. So that's a good point. Why she's there, because she's not seen anywhere else.
No. And I think it's such a traumatic experience, and there's a lot of emotion in that traumatic experience, that it's that day. That's the one that meant so much to her when she lost a boy. Who knows?
Well, you see, that's the thing. She never actually lost him, because she died shortly after.
So I got that wrong then.
So she never actually saw Edward grow up. She died a couple of years after she gave birth or something. It wasn't very long after the birth that Jane actually died.
Yeah, they should probably looking for him then.
So, it is quite possible.
So the next story is of, yet again, another of Henry VIII's wives. Because he had a few. I
had a few people on his entourage, didn't he, during this time?
So this time we are talking about Catherine Howard, who is nicknamed the Screaming Queen. So in Hampton Court Palace there is a long corridor which is now called the Haunted Gallery. It got its name because when Henry VIII's fifth wife was arrested for adultery and treason, she broke free, running down the corridor screaming before being taken away and beheaded.
That's right, because Henry was in the chapel. It leads to the chapel, and that's where the king was, and she knew it was her one and only chance to try and get to Henry before they took her to the Tower. And that's why she managed to break free, and she's still... I've been to Hampton Court Palace 3-4 times, and obviously I've been during the day and what have you. I've never ever seen anything. We've got an investigation lined up in there, so who knows, we might find something in, but that's why she's seen there, because it was her one and only chance to get to the king, because she knew what was going to happen. Culpeper had already been executed, and she knew she was next.
All right. So moving away from Henry VIII, we are now going to another story about a white lady, again, at Salisbury Hall. So a spirit who's often seen around the hall is of a white lady. She's been seen by visitors, employees, and even sitting at a bus stop nearby, just outside. And she was that realistic that the bus driver actually stopped to let this woman on his bus. But obviously she didn't go on the bus. So the identity of the white lady is meant to be of a Dorothy Southwest. Dorothy's family were strict Catholics, and in the 17th century she fell in love with an Anglian aristocratic boy, and Dorothy's father forbade them to get married, but the young couple ran away to elope. But tragedy struck when Dorothy's brothers found out. And on the night of the wedding, her brothers ambushed the boy, killing him and two of his friends. Dorothy was sent away to a foreign convent where she died of a broken heart.
Her brothers killed him?
Yep.
Oh.
So she fell in love with this boy. The father said, "No, he's only getting married." They ran away to elope. Her brothers found out and they killed him. And then she died of a broken heart.
Oh, traumatic, man.
Yes, Frankie got a good point. I wonder if any of these royals in that time have seen And he goes, for his heart, Frankie, there are some reports that Henry, towards the end of his life, we all know that Henry became overweight and he received a major leg injury. I don't know how I get industry. Sorry. On his leg through a jousting accident, and there was times when he was kind of delirious with the pain and what have you. He did sometimes say that he had found that he'd seen the ghost of one of his exes, but whether it's true or not, who knows? Our father.
But I wonder if King Henry saw ghosts from like 300 years before him. You know what I mean? Or whether they were the first ghosts in that place.
I would reckon, it's just my opinion. Again, I would think people have been seeing ghosts down through the centuries. Yeah. I mean, paranormal investigations have only been up and running for the past, maybe less than 100 years or something. The spiritualism started back in America. But, ghosts didn't just turn up about 100, 150 years ago. So I would say there's a good chance that way back, go back to the set people have always seen them. What they've thought of them, who knows? Whether they thought they were real people or whatever, who knows? But I would say it's very improbable that they've never seen ghosts.
There's Joe saying her father ordered his death. They used to meet in the gardens and he was killed in front of her.
Spiteful.
So the next story is about a red lady this time at St James's Park. There's been a few sightings of a mysterious headless, again, what is it with headless ghosts? Lady dressed in red walking towards the lake. Legend has it that she was murdered by her husband and he threw her head into the lake. So she's
gonna find that.
So she's seen wandering down to this lake to, again, like the last story, look for her head.
Mm-hmm.
I just had some really weird internal dialogue then in my head. And I thought, if this ghost goes down to the lake, which is obviously where her head was lost, could you, stop me if you want, but could you get a fake skull if you saw that ghost and leave it on the bay, and then she'd find it and think that's hers, and then the ghost would go? Just a question in my head.
Possibly.
You could put these spirits to rest by, 3D printing a skull and leaving it there for her.
I don't have an answer for that one, Forrest.
I'd like to try it.
But I suppose in theory it could work.
Comment on that one. Well, we would use time in the chat, folks, about Forrest's theory. Red signifies a jilted lover.
Did you know this was coming along?
What was coming?
I don't know.
Frankie says there's a plaque with that somewhere. It's quite an unusual question, Forrest, and to be honest with you, I don't have a clue.
The next story
I don't know.
is of another grey lady. Or she might get angry knowing it's not hers.
Worth a try.
That's not mine.
We'll go to St James's Park and test the theory.
How are you going to test that theory?
I'll kidnap a skull for someone.
Because you can buy them at the shop, Tesco or something, go and buy a skull.
Yeah.
The skull.
The fake ones, you get them at Halloween and stuff.
Like that?
Yeah,
tiny.
The water has shrinked it.
I should just have watched this on TV, innit?
Yeah.
Well, no TV, you know what I mean? I shouldn't have came on the panel.
Anyway, the next story is of another grey lady. This time of Lulworth Castle. This is quite a sad story. I had a wee tear when I was writing this. This was quite sad. So, during a fire that destroyed Lulworth Castle in 1929, a firefighter heard a fearful cry from the top floor of the castle. So he looked up and saw a woman shouting and screaming out of the window for help.
And did he think it was...
The man tried to rescue the woman but discovered that the top floor had collapsed earlier on that day because the fire had been burning for hours. So he was standing, I'm presuming outside of the castle, and he heard fearful cries coming through the top kind of window, and he looked up, seen this woman standing, screaming for help, shouting with everything that she had for him to rescue her. So he went in to try and rescue her and discovered that the floor had actually collapsed a couple of hours earlier.
Oh, so he wasn't hearing her at all. Interesting.
It could have been hearing her.
It could have been her screaming in pain.
So is it possible that she was recreating her death because it was that sudden, violent? Maybe it's just, I don't know, it's just a theory. None of us are experts on it, you know.
Or maybe she didn't realise that she died and that's why she was still screaming for help.
Yeah.
Because she's seen someone trying to put out the flames and she was trying to get help and she's not actually realised that she's dead.
Yeah, she might have been dead and he might be hearing the residual. Yeah, but he wasn't there. But scary stuff, man.
Joe says maybe he was connected by subconscious.
Possibly. See, that's the thing I love about the paranormal. There's that many different possibilities to everything. You know, so Joe says maybe he was connected by subconscious, possibly. Maybe she was reliving the moment of her death. You know, there's that many different possibilities why we see a spirit, why a spirit's there, or that woman. You just, you know, that's the thing I love about it. You just, it's like endless. You know, you never stop learning, you never stop finding out stuff.
So, the next story, we're moving on to a different colour in the ghost spectrum.
Like a rainbow in it.
It is. This is about a distillery which is called Moss Beach Distillery in California. So we're going all around the world with these stories tonight. Often seen around the distillery is a blue figure of a woman. Story goes that in 1920 a young woman crossed paths with a piano player who was playing in the distillery. They fell in love and had an affair. One day, whilst walking romantically on the beach, they were caught by the woman's husband. A fight started and the piano player accidentally stabbed the woman and not her husband.
Careless.
So...
Wouldn't have been happy at that one, eh?
Yeah.
So who's the piano player?
Just some random guy that this woman fell in love with.
Oh, okay.
And then they were romantically walking down the beach and the husband caught them and then there was a fight and the person the woman was having the affair with accidentally stabbed her.
So that was kind of her fault, really, wasn't it?
Well,
she hadn't been cheating, that wouldn't have happened.
True. And if you're going to have an affair, you don't kind of walk down the beach, which is close to the place where your husband would be.
With a knife.
I don't know why he had a knife, actually. He's a piano player, so there's no need for him to have a knife.
Exactly that. Why is he carrying a knife? What sort of person is she attaching herself to there?
Well, she's dead now, so...
Obviously.
Like,
Blue orbs means peace.
Not sure
She's
about
not sure with ghosts. But Shelley brings up a good wee question. Where she goes? There she's there. Why do you think there isn't? Why do you think there isn't spirits called grey men and white men?
Well, a lot of these stories that I'm reading out, the women get their colour not because it was the colour of them, but because of the colour of their clothing, like the lady with the white gloves. So,
I don't know.
What Shelley's saying is you never hear a, you know, I mean, like you take Edinburgh Castle, you get the grey lady said to wander in the Rapinson in Edinburgh Castle, but you never hear a grey man.
no, but that's what I'm saying. But are these spirits actually grey, blue, white, or is it just a case of it's their clothing that they're seen in that's a colour, and that's why people say such and such?
Or do some people see the green lady as green, yet other people see her as white? Who knows? But with men, you generally get things like Highwayman, or the man in the cape, or the man with the hat. You don't generally get colours, do you, with men?
It's more descriptive with men. Whereas females, it's a colour, but men, a man is seen walking down a dark corridor of a castle wearing a tall black top hat.
It's true.
Possibly.
So,
But there is only one way, I suppose the only way you'll ever truly find out is if you actually see one yourself. Frankie said she loved a bad boy in the film getting caught, except she got
comeuppance.
I thought I was going to say tuppence. Comeuppance. Sorry, Frankie. Just no way tonight at all.
Got it up the tuppence, yeah. Could be the aura of the house. Yeah.
So the next story is of an Agnes Samson at Holyrood Palace. Back in the 1500s, witch hunting was a big thing, as everyone knows, because we covered it in Witch Week a couple of weeks ago. And one witch who was executed was Agnes Samson. Samson was an old woman. She was considered to have healing powers which made her a witch. She was arrested, held and tortured, where she confessed of being a witch during being tortured. And she was burned at the stake, and now her naked ghost is said to roam Holyrood Palace.
It's said to roam.
I don't know why she should be naked.
Did they strip her before they burned her at the stake to, you know, strip her, embarrass her, shame her?
Well, that's it. I think you'd need to actually look back, maybe try and find out, you know, was she naked when she was, as Forrest said, was she naked when she was executed, or, you know, there's...
Like I said at the start, these stories are quite vague in their details. Which is good, because you get to have a discussion and kind of break the stories apart. Which is good.
Yeah. And you've just reminded me of the witch, the toothless hag from the ancient Ram. Her name was Agnes. That's the one. Yeah, but I think witches were probably stripped and, you know, it publicly to humiliate and shame them. So that's probably why she was naked. Maybe that's just how she wants to be remembered, you know, like you said before. How do you want to be remembered? Naked. Who knows?
Well, I suppose if you...
I don't know about that.
No, but it's true. If you go into a building, right, and there's two spirits in that building, there's one of a spirit that's seen wearing a white, beautiful dress, and then there's a naked spirit. What one are you going to remember most? You're going to remember the naked one.
I know which one's memorable.
Well, it's true though, Scott. If you're walking down the street, right, if you're walking down the local high street and there's a fight that breaks out, or there's a wee guy skipping down the road naked, you're going to talk about the naked man rather than the fight.
Speak for yourself. I'm glad watch the fight.
that final act of defiance as well, couldn't it? If they were stripped and shamed and burned at the stake, and then they're asked the question, how do you want to be in spirit world, they might say, no, I'll be naked. How I died, I don't care, let them see it. You know, it could be a final act of defiance, like, I don't care.
There's Joe's hit it in the head.
Perhaps feels she has nothing to hide and is happy to connect the way she is, and they were stripped to look for a witch's mark.
Yeah.
It's amazing you don't see a naked ghost.
I tell you what, I'll come back naked. everyone will run screaming. It'll be great.
What kind of places did you look up these ghosts? Nudity and everything. This is a respectable channel.
Well, it's just... Anyway, next one. Now, I'm not being offensive and I'm not swearing at our public, but this is a story, so don't. The next one is Slag Pile Annie. During the 1900s in Pennsylvania even, a woman called Annie was at work when she fell into the slag and died. Not quite sure what a slag is, but I think...
Slag
It's the stuff left over from the furnaces, isn't it? Slag. We get a lot of it in Wolverhampton. It's kind of blue turquoisey, stony glass stuff that's, like little pebbles.
Well, she fell in it and died. So during night shift, workers often see a young lady working alongside them. They warn her to be careful when she replies, "I can't die and I'm already gone."
I can't die, I'm already gone.
Mm-hmm. That's what she's said to... That's what she's been reported to say when people warn her to be careful.
So she's conscious.
She can't die, I'm already gone. And I'm already gone.
See, would you class that as an intelligent haunting?
I don't know. I mean, what was she like in life? Was she depressed? Is that the sort of thing somebody would say if they were depressed and had no zest for life anymore? You can't kill me, I'm already gone. Quite a dark thing. That's what I picked up from that. So maybe she's conscious in spirit. Maybe she was just sort of, she didn't have any worth while she was alive. Just a thought.
Her whole attitude was, I don't care now. Sort of.
Yeah, I'm already dead on the inside. I'm gone anyway, so maybe she had mental illness. Don't know.
Possible. So moving on to our last story. This ghost doesn't have a colour.
Does it have clothes?
Yeah.
Good.
But she's quite creepy, this one. This is in a pub, and it's Tonbridge pub. Not sure where it is. But a pub in... Oh, that's on Tonbridge. Frequently gets visited by a female ghost. She's seen wandering about the bar, and she'll sit at the bar, and she's seen propped up at a bar stool. But many have reported seeing her upstairs in the bedrooms. Now this is where it gets quite perverted, so to speak. She will sit on the bottom of the bed, watching whoever's in the bed and whatever they're getting up to. But the minute that you clock on that she's there and that she's watching you, she disappears.
A voyeuristic ghost, eh?
So tonight you've dealt with naked ghosts and pervy ghosts. You're not reading any books again. I mean, naked ghosts and pervy ghosts.
But can you imagine that though, right? You're down, staying at a hotel, right? You're having a few glasses at the bar. You see this woman and you think, oh, she's quite nice, eh? And then you go upstairs to your room with your missus or whatever, right? And you're doing what people do.
The
business. And then the same woman that you're seeing downstairs is sitting at the edge of your bed watching you, you'd be a bit kind of...
I don't think that was a ghost. I think I actually went to that pub, and I think that might have been me.
Was it?
That...
I realised I was in the wrong room.
But can you imagine that though? You're getting up to whatever, or you're sleeping, and you wake up, and you notice this woman, and before you get a chance to ask her who she is and what she wants, she's gone.
That would be pretty creepy though, wouldn't it?
So.
But if you'd had a few drinks, maybe you might have thought you imagined it anyway.
See, encounters with a female spirit. You know what? I can't say I have.
I'm just thinking through the files of my brain, and I can honestly say I don't think I know whether they're male or female when things come through. The only time I can tell if they're male or female is if I'm using a ghost box and I hear a female voice. So no, mine are just mists and shapes really, and feelings, but I don't see male or female.
Yes, I was taken over in Pendle. Who's on our page? Who's commenting?
Who's that?
Well, it can't be Shelley. It's got to be.
And it's not you.
It's not me. It's not you.
It's not Joe.
Not
Oh. Must be Sam.
you go. The female ghost.
Need to watch that.
Who's
Have a
that?
ghostly admin on their page.
Oh, it's Joe.
Oh, it's Joe.
Right.
Oh, I was getting excited thinking we had a ghostly admin there. Oh.
I wasn't. I was getting worried to see who's hacked our channel. It's Joe.
You've had a thing with a female ghost, have you not? An encounter.
With a female ghost.
At the old market in Edinburgh. Or was that just a feeling?
That's just a feeling. I've never actually seen. Not that I know of. You know, I mean, we can see sometimes it's been said spirits can appear like just solid people. So, you know, you might see a ghost and not realise it is a ghost. But to my knowledge, I've never ever seen a ghost. I've certainly felt things behind me, beside me, but that's about it.
Scott said you still got your ghost in your place. As far as we know, the wee boy's still in the closet. As far as we know. It doesn't come out, so we don't know.
Sometimes we hear, kind of, like we were sitting last week after a live, and we still had the screen up, and none of us were touching the mouse or anything. One of the comments just popped up and disappeared again. Maybe it was a computer glitch. Who knows? But there's wee bits and pieces happen, Frankie. You know, you hear a wee noise or something, or the cats will sit staring at one particular bit of the room, or a corner or something, or one will look at. We've got this cupboard right beside us. This is where the wee boy's meant to be. I've caught the cats a couple of times just sitting staring at this door. So who knows, buddy? Maybe it doesn't do us any harm. It doesn't bother us. So no, we just live and let live.
But then obviously because this is now the office, when it used to be our bedroom, we noticed a lot more. Like my makeup and stuff would get moved, and if Tayami had left toys lying about, they would wake up and they went where we left them. But we don't really notice as much now because it's an office.
I have no recollection whatsoever of my voice. We need to talk to you about that one, Joe. That'd be interesting. Hi, Freaky. The earthbound spirit come to my ear and say my name, definitely female.
I'm going to sound stupid. What's an earthbound spirit?
An earthbound spirit is basically what it says. For some reason, it can't go to the light.
Ah.
It's tied to this earth. That's my understanding of it. In Scott's old house, I'm sure I saw a female spirit in Scott's old house.
I know you knew Shelley when you had your old house.
You did that. I did actually have a spirit in my old house because weird things used to happen, you know. One time, I'm a creature of habit, and every time I turned the TV off, I would put the remote in front of the TV every single night, and I lived myself. One time I went to turn the TV on and the remote wasn't there. I hunted for it, and I found it about halfway underneath my bed. I had a double bed, and I saw it, you know, I noticed this black thing on the floor under the bed, and I looked under, and it was the remote. Now, you know, I can't explain that. There's no way I would put the remote halfway under the bed. Another time, every time I went into the house, I would lock my door. Even if I was in for half an hour, I would always lock the door. And leave the key in. One time I went and got up in the morning, go to work, my keys weren't there. They were lying on the living room table, and I knew myself I had to put them there. But, you know, that's things just Joe. I went into the room, felt sick, ill, I was then sick. I thought it was okay. Come across absolutely freezing. Thought, standing so I moved the room to full of people at least 8 before COVID.
You're a vessel.
Aye.
Alright. Spirits are drawn to electrical charge, batteries, phones, and toys. In Glasgow, I remember I told you.
Oh, right, Shelley, you had me thinking there. Shelley used to stay just a 2-minute walk past it in Glasgow. That's aye, she did. She told me about that one. Aye, sorry, Shelley. I thought you meant my flat in Kilmarnock. I didn't know you then.
I was going to say, is there something you're not telling me?
No, it's when I used to. Shelley and I both came from the same the same. Our streets were parallel. They were separated by gardens. That was it. But that was back in the day. I mean, but I told you what I guess what house you lived in, as we lived in the same area. I remember. Sorry, Shelley.
So that wraps up the stories. I need to do some digging on some more weird stories about naked and headless ghosts.
We'll need a thingy about Joe with this. That sounds quite interesting.
Because I'm sure there's a few.
Karen, how can I not see Karen?
Don't know.
So, right, I've got a final question. Right. I've got a final question.
Okay.
If you were asked what you would want to come back looking like, what age group would you choose to come back as a spirit?
Personally, probably the age I am now. But if I could choose, I think I would come back without my disability.
What would you wear? What's your signature outfit?
Vest top, hoodie and trackies, definitely.
What about you, Scott?
I'd say I'd like to come back around about 25, maybe. And it'd be t-shirt and jeans, probably. Or joggies and a t-shirt. Maybe a nice dress. No, I'm kidding on. Would it be a dress?
I definitely want to come back without my disability, though. So that spirit me can do what real me can't do, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Where would you haunt?
Where would you what, sorry?
Where would you haunt? What's your place?
I'd haunt everywhere.
Graceland.
I'd just be one of the wee people that haunt everywhere. Do you know what I've always wondered, right? This might sound stupid, but I've always wondered it. See how obviously we're alive, right? So we live a life, right?
Yeah.
See when you die, does your spirit then go on to live a spirit life?
I hope so, because I'd be really depressed if I came back as a spirit 15 years ago and had to go to frigging work every day in a place I hated. No. Just let me into the light, man.
I want spirit me to come back and do stuff that proper me can't, like go and climb a mountain and stuff.
Yeah, just have fun. I'd like to just make people laugh by jumping through the bedroom wall and just just something funny.
Because I've always
Joe would be scary.
It's one of these questions you don't know until you go.
Because obviously, like, we've got a planet, right? We've obviously got Earth, right? And we're obviously in a
Earth.
A time zone thing, right? So, is there a spirit world that's parallel to ours?
They say years and years ago, Joe might be able to help us with this. I used to go to spiritual church in Glasgow. I know Shelley used to go there as well, and I spoke to a medium about this one night when I started studying the paranormal and spiritualism, what have you. What would happen is you could go in for an hour before the thing started and sit and have a cup of coffee, cup of tea, whatever, and mediums would come around and just say, it was a chance to chat. And one night I was talking to this medium and I said, so where is the spirit world? And a lot of people look to the sky, you know, if they talk about God or, you know, people that passed away, they always tend to look up. And this medium says the spirit world is entwined with our world. Spirits are all around us, but they're on a different vibration as to us. So it's the spirit world and the physical world are entwined together. Whether that's true or not, I've no idea. But this is what was told to me.
That's like that conversation we had up the Town Mind. We were driving past the bus station and I'd said to Scott, do you think that there's like... Because the street was empty, there was no people. So I'd said to Scott, do you think that there's, in the spirit realm, the spirits are wandering up and down this street and driving wee spirit cars and we just can't see them?
Yeah, and does every dead person have a spirit? Or is it only certain spirits that come through? Are some stronger than other because of their traumatic deaths? So, in the words of Zach Bagans, isn't it? There are things in this world we will never fully understand. Understand.
Joe, I agree with that. I think, Joe, you're talking about the medium. That's how it was explained to me. And I can still understand what the guy was saying, you know, like that, but we just can't see it. It's like a dog whistle. That was the thing he said to me. You know, you blow a dog whistle. A dog can hear it, but we can't.
No, I know.
It's the same kind of... I know it sounds a bit primitive, but it's the same kind of idea.
So that brings me back to my walking down the street thing. Do you think that if we're walking down the high street, there's spirits walking down their equivalent to our high street, but we just can't see them because they're on a different kind of plane as such?
I would say if it's a residual haunting, very, very possibly.
But who's to say that spirits don't, after you die, right? You die and your spirit comes back, right? And you come back as 25, right? Who's to say that your spirit you doesn't live on?
It's going to be very busy because there's going to be a lot of spirits all over the place. You know, when people say places are haunted, we take the ghost box out, and I just think, well, there's ghosts everywhere, isn't there? You don't have to go to a ruined house or a castle. There'll be spirits out on the playing field. There'll be spirits out on the path by your house. They've got to be everywhere.
Exactly. People go to... A couple of comments still probably shared. People tend to go to graveyards, as you say, first, go to graveyards, go to castles, you know, places like that, because they think, oh, there's a graveyard, there'll be a ghost there. But, you know, you can get to a Tesco supermarket and there could be a ghost there. Sometimes it's not to do with the building, it's to do with the land. So, say before that Tesco was there might have been an old castle, an old cottage, you know, and there's a haunt attached. So, you know, you could get a spirit in aisle 5. It might sound ludicrous, but, you know, the land has a history as well. So, what was there before Tesco and all the rest of it? So, you don't need to go to a graveyard or whatever to find a spirit.
I think
millions of them.
I wouldn't want to die unless I knew that you could live on as spirit you would have a life.
You wouldn't want to die?
No.
You don't actually much of an option.
Well, no, but I wouldn't exactly... I don't want to, like... I'd like to think that spirit you could live on and do, like, the spirit equivalent to what you do now.
Yeah, or like a spirit heaven. You just go to your utopia and do all those things that you wanted to do, you know.
Yeah, like for me, I want spirit me to go and climb a mountain. Because I'll never be able to. So is spirit me going to be able to go and do that?
Yeah,
or
exactly that.
You just kind of die, your spirit comes out your body and floats about, and then you get to haunt a few people now and again, and then you get back to the
well, this is the thing. This is, I mean, I had many years, and I believe it, everybody's got their own idea of heaven. You know, what it's like. Some people imagine it's all like mountains and valleys and rivers and stuff, beautiful flowers, and, you know, everybody's sitting by a river, and other people, everybody's got their own idea, vision of what heaven or what the after, you know, the next life's like. So I think it's whatever you believe in, but you don't actually find out until you go. You know. If
only you could die and then come back again and tell everybody what it's like.
Well, you hear about these people that have died and came back.
Yeah, but they don't really die though. They just go, like, kind of die, see the light and think, I'm not going to that light, and come back. They don't actually have any recollection of what it's actually like, apart from the big bright light.
You mind the story in the paper years ago, a wee boy, he had an operation and he died on the operating table, but he came back, the managed to get him back for 5, 10, 15 minutes. And after he recovered, his mum took him to one of his relatives' houses, and there was a picture on the fireplace, on the mantelpiece, of a woman. And he turned and says to his mum, "That's my gran." And it turned out the woman says he'd never met his gran. His gran died before she was born. So he'd no idea what his gran, he'd never seen her. But he went straight, he says, "That's my gran. I've seen her." You know, take that as you will. So, you know, who's to say?
Okay. Do you think that areas that have high spiritual levels, therefore creating high EMFs, are what creates the magical and magnetic pull that makes people keep visiting and feel like they have to go and keep going back, like Pendle in Edinburgh, for example?
I think it's subjective, because places that some of my friends have gone to and said it's so active, man, it's so much is going on there. I've spent the whole night there and I've not had a sniff of anything, and I've just thought, oh, this is really boring. So I think it depends on the individual. I don't know. What do you think?
I know that, excuse me, I know that we're covering Pendle. I've always had a fascination for Pendle, even though I've never been. It's always been in my head. But I mean, as I've said on many, many lives about Greyfriars, I've got this strange pull to Greyfriars. Every time I go to Edinburgh, I need to go, even if it's for 10 minutes. It could be a summer's afternoon, and I go for, you know, a wander in the shop. I'd need to go up to Greyfriars. I don't know what it is, but I'm not happy unless I go, even one walk round the Kirkyard and back out, but I need to go. And I can't explain it, Shelley. It's just something that I need to do.
Whereas my kind of pull to Pendle in Edinburgh is more to the fact that there's a lot of historic places and the old buildings. I love going round, driving about, looking at old buildings. It absolutely fascinates me. So
I think the joke, in my opinion, your body is only borrowed, it's your soul. Your body's just a vessel. And you realise that it's going to sound morbid, but when my dad died, I missed his death, and I went up to the hospital shortly after it. You know, as you do, the hospital calls and you go up, and he was still in the room, and I went in and seen him, and you could tell then that he wasn't there. You know, he's dead. Do you know what I mean? It might sound stupid. It's just that I feel, a sense you get, you know that his personality's not there, that he's somewhere else. Does that make sense? It probably doesn't make sense. I think you'd actually need to be standing there to understand what I'm talking about. Because I was looking, I said, that's not my dad. That's just a body.
Mm-hmm.
My dad's with, my gran or whoever.
If we put frequencies into the air, will they just disappear?
I don't know, Jack.
Is there more spirits because of the power lines? Is there more spirits because of power lines than there used to be?
What do you think, Forrest?
Possibly.
Like I say, it's one of those things with old spirits from hundreds of years ago via new spirits that have just died. You always see sort of spirits that are older. You never see many modern ones, do you? Like just dressed in jeans and a cap or whatever. So I don't know. I don't have the answers.
Shelley says, her spirit will live on for definite. I have a family to look after. That's where I'd be.
And a lot of spirits do that. Mums, dads, granddads, grands, they tend to hang about to look after their family.
It's a good job that spirits don't bump into each other everywhere. Who says they don't?
Yeah, they might be walking through you, mate.
I wonder if it's the power lines that prevent us from seeing more ghosts, as I'm sure more stories was told before the power lines was all over the globe.
See, I don't know. To be honest with you, I've always said in this chat, if I don't know the answer to something, I'll just, say I've got no idea, buddy. I can only apologise, but, I can sit and give you a big spiel about, whatever, but to me, if you don't know, just be honest, I've got no idea, my man. No idea.
But back to the power line thing. Spirits do need power to be able to come.
They need to draw energy from somewhere.
So...
Interesting what Joe said as well about sort of phones, TVs, electrical equipment that spirits interfere with. Because this is something that's always happened to me as a person. And I've walked into places and their brand new stereos broken, never worked again. And I get that quite often, and I've never understood why. So it's interesting that Joe mentioned about spirits doing that. I'd like to know more about that.
You go, Freaky's not looking for answers, he's just throwing a thought out there.
Sorry, Freaky, I thought we can ask him a question.
Shelley says, I think now society's sixth sense is diminished over the years. We all have the gifts, but life is so busy. That is very true.
Yeah, even children, that's why it's more common in children to have imaginary friends, stuff like that, and children are more psychic than adults because their minds haven't been corrupted yet, and and they don't have a busy life basically, so that's why their minds are still kind of, I wouldn't say empty, but more innocent.
But here's a question, right? Are the imaginary friends that kids see, are they imaginary, or are the spirits of children that your child plays with?
Well, that's what I mean. We've had a kid say, Bobby's my imaginary friend. And you say, well, there's nobody there. Says, no, he is there. So how do you know that your child's not actually seen, a boy, a girl? That's what I says earlier about the paranormal. There's that many different questions and what have you. It's all about trying to find that answer.
Well, just look, back when Tayami was 1, maybe 2 at the most, she used to lie in her cot at night and she would look at this one particular corner in her room and laugh just for no reason. There was nothing in the corner. I even emptied the corner thinking it was maybe a toy or something that was catching her attention to make her laugh hysterically for hours at night. But there was nothing. The corner was completely empty.
It's the same as young babies. We stand up in their cot and they're focusing on one particular point, or they're trying to point, and you think, people say, oh, what the hell is he pointing at? But who's to say he's no point? Maybe his gran or his granddad or something that's standing there watching.
Well, that was like Miami. She used to sit up in her cot and look at one particular corner of her room and laugh hysterically, and there was nothing there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting that animals do that as well, because I had a 3-piece suite given to me because my great auntie had died on one of the chairs, and nobody in the family wanted this 3-piece suite, but it was brand new, and I was living in poverty, and I was like, I'll have it. I don't care. She's died on it. And the chair that she died on used to sit sort of on one side of the room, and my cat and my dog both used to sort of be grooming themselves, and then they'd just snap their head to the side and stare at this chair, and I'd deliberately not look at the chair and talk to my pets going, I'm not looking, I'm not playing the game, stop it. And they'd look at it until I looked at it, and then they'd look at me and carry on doing what they're doing. But it was interesting that they both did that, and they would just stare at the chair like they could see something.
See, that's like our cat. Our cat will sit in front of this, on the camera, that closet.
Yeah.
And she just sits there for hours, just looking at
Staring.
it. But then obviously when we done the investigation in here, we discovered that there's a wee boy that likes to live in my cupboard.
Creepy.
Just before we wind up, this was Forrest, you were saying about animals. I'll tell you a quick story. My dad had 2 little chihuahuas, and one was a vicious little beep, Another one was quite loving, so it was like chalk and cheese. So I used to visit them a lot, and every time I went, my stepmom used to lock this wee thing in the kitchen because it was just, it would just go for you. But the other one was I like to roam free. So the night my dad died, obviously my stepmom was up at the hospital, and I brought her down the road, and she was like, do you want to come in? So I went out of the house, and made sure she was okay. And obviously her mind was all over the place. So I sat down in my dad's chair, and she said, I'll make a cup of coffee. And she left the kitchen door open. and this thing came running out. So I thought, I'm for the off, even though it's like that. My ankles are disappearing here. But it didn't. It done the exactly. It done the total opposite. It jumped up in my lap, and it does what my cat does to it. And as we say in Scotland, cooried in, started nuzzling in, and all the rest of it. Just what a cat does, Murphy. Totally. And my stepmom was standing at the kitchen door, and she couldn't believe it. She was just standing watching. I says, I don't know. I can't explain it. But as I say, prior to my dad dying, he was a vicious little. He took the knees off you. But then just for that, he was up my knee, and he was my best bud. Because I still kept going down to the house, and every time he'd come running out to me and all the rest, and sit at my feet or jump up me and try and lick me and everything. I just total change, which I found really, really strange.
Yeah.
So we're not saying it's paranormal. Maybe my dad, you do get a thought maybe my dad was in the living room. Maybe he wasn't.
Well, it could be because you're your dad's blood as well, and you might have a similar smell. And if his dad's not there, then you're the next best thing. Who knows? Could be paranormal there.
But even when my dad was in hospital, my dad spent quite some time in hospital before he passed. So I was always up doing my stepmom's to make sure, she was okay, if she needed any shopping, the usual kind of stuff. And every time I went out of the house, he would go, it was, you're getting it. I need to be hauled into the kitchen. So, my dad wasn't there for quite some time before he died. It was just me. So I don't know. Who knows? I found it quite strange. But maybe that's just me. You know what I mean? So I think sorry, Rob?
A Chihuahua's best friend.
Well, this thing was about 4 inches tall. It was like a mouse with big cheek teeth and a collar. Oh, I'm telling you, unbelievable. But he was scared stiff here. And he was saying something else there, and he was swore. Right? But however, that was it. But I will wind up here. But before we go, I'm just going to tell you about some of the stuff that's coming up. We're back next Monday with the American TV show Haunted State. They're coming in, and then we've got Tabby Cat in on Tuesday. Wednesday we've got Mr. Jamie Christoffin again coming back in for Edinburgh City of the Dead tours. He's also going to be taking part in our project coming up called Darkest Mile. We've got Forgotten Pendle on Wednesday morning as well with the girls out with our Pendle team. That's at 11:15 with Joe, Shelley, Carl. So they'll be on Wednesday morning, 11:15. So we've got Darkest Mile coming up. We've also got Pendle coming up after we do Darkest Mile. But we're now venturing into PIH tours, which will feature, I'll say down south. It's Stumpcross Caverns. Joe knows exactly where it is. I can't remember the name of the town they're near. We've got exclusive access to that, so we're starting them up as well. So that's coming up in the future as well.
We also have a website which is under construction at the moment. So that's exciting. So,
we're not bragging. We like to keep people in the loop and just let you know what happens. So we're back Monday night with the Haunted State TV programme for the United States. Washington, I think they're from, maybe. They're from America anyway, but they're excellent. Right? So thanks for coming in, folks, and I'll let Sarah say her goodbyes and stay safe.
So, goodbye everyone. Thank you for listening to all my weird and wonderful stories.
And looking at our lovely faces.
Yes.
Well, mine, Mr. Egghead. I'm not going to forget that, Forrest. I'm not going to forget that egg cup comment. Don't worry, that's remembered. We shall talk later.
So wear a hard hat when you visit the website.
Aye, okay, freaky. Thanks very much, Frankie, Shelley, Jack as well. We're glad you all enjoyed it. And we've got lots more coming as well.
Yep. So, goodbye.
Jack loves your antlers, Forrest.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.